But first, just to say a brief word, as Chris said earlier on, City and Guilds Group's purpose is to help people to get into a job, to progress on the job and to get into their next job. And we believe so passionately in that purpose, but also in the potential that digital credentials represent, that we have invested in Credly, Jonathan Finkelstein's business, and you'll see why we've done that from a most excellent presentation before the break. Jonathan is a fantastic individual, and his company is the market-leading digital credential business in the US. And we acquired Digitalme and its sister company Makeways because of their specialist expertise in digital credentials. And you've heard from Joanne how those emotional stories, if you like, connect individuals to credentials and to employment. It's very important to us as a purpose. And my other role, as well as being New Ventures Director, which has, if you like, led that investment into Credly, is to run our leadership and management business, ILM. And it felt important to me to drink our own Kool-Aid, as the Americans would say, and actually give digital credentials a try in our own business. And having said that, I have let my team do what they wanted to do with digital credentials. I've said, look, this is a good thing for you to look into. Please talk to your customers and work out what the potential is. And I have to say, in almost 30 years of work, I don't think we've had as strong a reaction from customers as we have done over the last 6 to 7 months. We've talked to literally hundreds of training providers and employers about digital credentials. We've had really, really strong responses from them. And the reason is this, really. It's all about the themes you've heard earlier on from the other speakers very strongly about bringing, in our case, leadership learning to life. It's all about bringing leadership learning to life. So really switching from that rather dry certificate that doesn't really explain what the knowledge, skills and behavior are of the individuals that you're looking to hire and bringing those to life. And we're really addressing these issues, if you like, in the employment marketplace, in the workforce. And they've been talked about by the other speakers very well, so I won't go on too much about them, but the skills gap in leadership and management development is very significant. UKCES estimates about 500,000 leaders and managers are required by 2020. And automation, workplace automation, and the use of technology is affecting, if you like, the cognitive skills in a way, the technical skills in a way, that is driving, as Chris described earlier on, the need for human skills, particularly leadership and management skills, and skills like communication, negotiation skills, which are a core part of what the ILM qualification and training will support. And then you're talking about a global workforce, millennials who work in an incredibly different way, who work online, often communicate online, work very differently, expected to somehow engage with employers in a Web 1.0 or even just a paper-based approach. So for us, those three issues of the global workforce, the importance of higher order leadership and management skills, and that significant skills gap, it was natural for us to look to digital credentials as the solution to that, really unleashing those skills to connect the young people, the middle managers, and the senior managers to their job opportunities and the workforce development opportunities that they needed to access. And John will just now give you a little bit more detail about how we've applied that across ILM over the last 6 to 7 months.
Cheers, thank you. With the jazz music in the background, I feel I should start with a song, but I won't. I'll save you that. What's the value of a credential? For us at ILM, a credential is actually the embodiment of everything we do. It's a physical manifestation of that. But with digital credentials, where you'd normally have a certificate, and that's the way that we've used to work, it normally goes into somebody's drawer or they lose it. My sister got a certificate at the age of 6. It was a Cabbage Patch adoption certificate. She frankly shouldn't have got it, but it was left out in the rain. It's not a good story. But certificates can be fraudulent, and digital credentials actually give you a much better quality and validity of what those people have gained. In terms of how it helps us as well is we often don't have a relationship with the learner. It's either through a training provider. So we don't actually see the impact of the work that we've done and the development of that learner, because you can now track them, you can see how their careers progress and what the value of gaining those skills has been for those individuals. It's a living CV, you can see the progress. The other thing, and we've spoken about it earlier as well, is around bridging the gap between job seekers and employers. You're able to search on the skills that you want. And this is particularly useful for us in the leadership and management space. It's such a broad school of skills. You could be employing somebody who has great project management skills, but they've never done any training around managing poor performance or dealing with difficult situations. So you can now drill into some of those skills much more. And so I think it's essential for the modern workplace. What we did, though, is we then started to do a pilot. So as John was saying earlier, we started talking to customers about this last October, and they were literally, when? When can we have this? So we decided to do a pilot, and it was looking at our level 5 qualifications, and we looked at the last 2 years. There were about 3,100 people in that community, and they had 68 different units, and these are examples here of the different units that they had completed. So we did a pilot of those, and actually it was hugely successful. Something I would advise if you are doing this is we firstly did that with our own team and our own organisation. So we issued a credential to each of those, so they understood the process and they understood how it worked. We then sent this out to this community, and the email that we sent out, even though we have never contacted them before, got over 50% open rate, and we never get that on emails. So there was a huge level of interest there. When we found that there was that huge level of interest, we decided then to roll this out to our other qualifications. So this here is an example of the credentials we've created for our apprenticeships. So that's a credential for a sort of a certificate. Then we've got a unit, and then we've got some of the behaviours that we were mentioning earlier that you would want some evidence for. The fact that they unitise actually helps that. There's a lot of units in an apprenticeship. So the fact that you're collecting them as you go along really helps the learner on that journey. I liken it a little bit to Pokemon Go, where you're collecting all the different things. And actually what we would like to see in the end is that people are collecting these units, they're completing them, and at the end of it you get a qualification. You don't even know you've got there. It helps them raise their profile, so they use them on their own LinkedIn profiles, and it shows people that they're progressing. And the other key learning as well is that we don't charge for credentials. We didn't tell them this when we emailed them, so there was something around communication there. So those were our lessons learned. In terms of the results, 2,500 badges were accepted with 640 learners issued with those badges, and those have been viewed over 23,000 times. People have clicked into the badge and see what they've achieved. So actually it's been hugely successful for us. And so our vision is that people like Jill, for example, she may have a coaching qualification and she might need to demonstrate that she has done a number of coaching hours throughout the year to maintain that. That allows us to do it in terms of the metadata that we hold. It almost becomes a license to practice. So for us, it's about leadership without limits, and it's about demonstrating the skills that people have. So that was our learnings from using digital credentials.